And the honest answer, the answer I hate myself for, is no, I wouldn't, because he was Marcus, and I loved him in a way that logic could never explain. That's why when the police called and told me they'd found him hiding in a rundown motel in Florida with only $340 left in his wallet, the first thing I felt wasn't relief. It wasn't anger. It was worry. I wondered if he was okay, if he was eating enough. I hate myself for that. But if you want to understand how this story happened, you need to understand that first. My name is Daniel. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. My mum worked night shifts as a nurse, and the person who really raised me was Marcus, my older brother, 4 years older than me. When I was 9, a group of older boys used to stop me at the school gate every day and take my lunch money. Marcus rode more than 3 miles on his bike to find them. He didn't fight them, he didn't yell. He just stood in front of me and stared straight into the eyes of the kid leading the group until they all walked away. That was the first time I knew what it felt like to be completely protected. And from that moment on, I would have followed Marcus anywhere. I would have done anything he asked, no questions. 20 years later, he used that trust to take everything I had. In 2022, I was 28 years old. I was a construction engineer with $62,000 in savings. For the first time in my life, the future felt within reach. Then Marcus called. "Danny, I've got a big opportunity. Come down to Savannah." We met at a steakhouse. He told me about a warehouse owner who was selling a commercial property for $380,000. 3 investors had already put in most of the money. They only needed one more partner, someone willing to invest $79,000. Marcus looked me straight in the eye. "I want that person to be you, Danny, nobody else." I borrowed another $17,000 from the bank. Then I wired $79,000 to the account he gave me. I signed the paperwork he prepared. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't call the warehouse owner. I didn't ask a single extra question, because it was Marcus. 45 days later, his phone stopped working.
On day 1, I assumed the battery was dead. By day 3, I started worrying. By day 7, I drove to Marcus's apartment. His neighbor looked at me with pity. "Your brother moved out last week," she said. "He seemed rushed, like someone running from something." Standing in the parking lot outside Marcus's apartment, I called the warehouse owner myself. He answered on the first ring. "I'm not selling any warehouse," he said. "And Marcus, he quit working here 8 months ago." 8 months. Every time I'd asked about the project, Marcus had another update, another meeting, another promise, another piece of the future. Every word had been a lie. When I got home, I sat down on the kitchen floor, not because I was tired, because my knees couldn't hold me up anymore. The police arrested Marcus 6 weeks later. The investigator called me in and showed me a list of victims, 11 people. Every single one was a relative or a long-time friend, not a single stranger. I read through the names. Then I saw the first victim, the person Marcus had approached 6 months before he came to me, my mother. She had given him $23,000, every dollar she'd saved from 20 years of working night shifts. He took her money first, then he came for mine, and she never told me because she didn't want me to lose faith in my brother. The investigator turned another page in the file. Then he looked at me and said, "There's something else you should know. We found messages from 4 years ago. Marcus had been monitoring your finances back then. He was waiting for the right moment, the moment you finally had enough money. 4 years."
Marcus hadn't thought of me because he suddenly needed cash. He had waited, watched, calculated for 4 years, while we had family dinners, while we talked on the phone, while we laughed together, while we were still brothers. He was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That phone call, "Danny, I've got a big opportunity." It wasn't spontaneous. It had been planned for a very long time. That night, I drove to my mother's house. We sat in the small kitchen where Marcus had learned to cook when he was 12. Neither of us spoke for a long time. There was nothing left to say. Finally, my mum placed her hand on mine. She didn't say a word. She just placed her hand there. That was the most painful moment of this entire story. Not the $79,000, not the trial, not the prison sentence. Just my mother's trembling hand resting on mine in that dark kitchen. The trial lasted 4 days. Marcus was sentenced to 18 months in prison. During those 4 days, he never looked at me, not once. As they led him away, all I could see were his hands cuffed behind his back. The same hands that rested on my shoulders when I was 9 years old and said, "I'm here now. Nobody's going to hurt you." I cried in my car afterward. Not because of the money, not because of the bank loan, but because Marcus's birthday was the following month, and for 28 years I had never missed a single one of his birthdays. The only lesson I took from all of this is simple. The most dangerous person in your life is rarely the one you're watching carefully. It's the person you've given every reason to never question. Loving someone with all your heart and trusting them blindly are not the same thing. You can love someone with everything you have and still have the right to ask questions. That isn't a lack of trust. That's self-respect. My name is Daniel, and this is my true story. In the next episode, a woman discovers the 7 years secret of the man she's about to marry, and it all begins with a text message sent to the wrong person. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't have to wait long.